Hey everybody, welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we're breaking down movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. I'm Jack.
I'm Billy.
And I'm John.
Welcome, John, all the way from Australia.
Thank you very much for having me, guys, to talk about Leatherneck Scarface Highway.
Yeah, no, right? It's good stuff. Yeah, so this minute 109, starts off with some titties. And I don't know if they're angry titties, but they're titties. And it ends with a brief exchange, a little bit of irony, and looks like a setup to some further action. So let's dig in.
I want to welcome John, and since we didn't mention it, he's from the Dirty Harry Minute, so a fellow Clint Eastwood Minute by Minute podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. It's you've set a very good example to all us movies by minuters that we can't live up to. You're reviewing a Marine movie. You're both ex-Marines, and we did Dirty Harry, and I'm ashamed to say I'm not a cop or a serial killer. So you've set a high standard.
Well, that's fine.
But are you dirty? That's the question.
No.
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 I do every dirty job that comes along.
The bar we've set is very low.
Oh yeah, it's an easy bar.
It's so low we're low crawling under it like Stitch Jones under some concertina wire,
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into this minute. So as Perry pointed out, we get some titties. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and they are not angry. I think Stitch was very impressed with them, actually.
Yeah, I believe he was. So this has to be asked. All of the students end up being in this one little room, except for that one that decided it was a good time during a firefight to get a shower.
She was cool.
Yeah.
We're being invaded. Oh, I feel so dirty. I'm gonna go clean myself, and then disappears. She's lucky she didn't get shot.
I'm really disappointed you guys gave me just the DVD extract and not a high quality Blu-ray resolution. So that was a failure on your
Yeah. Well, you got to watch it the way I did as a kid, and you got to kind of pause it at the right spot. And
I'm not ashamed to say that I paused it a few times, trying to get a little bit more material to work with before we started.
I don't know how much material you needed and and what you're doing with the said material.
Show prep.
Do you remember at the start of the film, one of the articles that Hunnick Gunny was reading was called Island Erotics?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even make that connection, but there you go.
Awesome. Yeah.
Everything is put in for a reason.
God damn you. That is an incredibly good observation and recall.
Because do you think Stitch is he aroused? Does he look perturbed, surprised, shocked by seeing banana titties in there? What do you think?
Oh, no, he's aroused. He's excited. He's shocked. Because I got the, I went back to the beginning of the minute, just purely for podcast reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
And as Stitch, turns the corner, she steps out. His eyebrows go up like surprise, like a little bit of shock. And then he's what he says, U.S. Marines, ma'am. And he's very almost shy. But as he turns around to walk away, he's like diddy bop. And he's like, yeah.
He's ready to close with and engage.
I think it was the minute before or 2 minutes before, Frigetti was in a similar situation. And he ended up shooting up the
skeleton. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right, Perry. She's lucky that Stitch is a little more calm and cool under pressure, or else he would have shot up.
lit up that blonde.
This particular wing is the Department of Anatomy, I think we saw in the minute before. So we're seeing it from all ends.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why she was there. Just so to teach young 12-year-old Billy what anatomy looks like.
Yeah. That one took me a second. I was like, wait a minute, your name's Brian.
Yeah. Oh. Now, actually, so let's, this actress, her name is Rebecca Pearl.
Really? She made credits, huh?
Oh, yeah, she made credits her out. She's got, she's been in quite a few things. I am sure I've seen her before. She's been in many things that I've seen over the years. I would have never known that it was her, though, or who she was, or that this is the same woman that potentially turned me into a man. She's been in a show, Perry, you and I have talked about on this podcast, Street Hawk.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, she was a car hop.
Oh, like Sonic.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, every role she's had seems to be a little on the smaller side. She was in Knight Rider,
Huh.
and she was also in Airwolf, something you and I just recently talked about off air.
Son of a bitch. She's not my favorite actor in this movie.
Yeah, she was in the episode Fortune Teller, and her name was Tina.
Really? I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Right, and she was also in The Bachelor Party as Screaming Woman.
Oh.
Another Clint Eastwood movie, Tightrope. She played Becky Jacqueline.
Huh.
Yeah, she has quite a nice little role there as one of the prostitutes that Clint Eastwood sort of falls in kinky, lust with, and ends up dead in the Mississippi, I think. Pretty good role.
Huh.
Aside from the ending up dead in Mississippi, she actually may have fallen in love with Clint Eastwood in real life. On IMDb, there's a mention that it says she was a rumored mistress of Clint Eastwood.
Get in line, lady. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. What is Sandra Locke going to think? I actually found this website called whodatedwho.com. Yeah, I know. It says that Clint Eastwood and Rebecca Pearl dated. It's funny. It says Rebecca Pearl, 58-year-old American actress. Clint Eastwood, a 90-year-old American actor. They dated for 3 years, from 1983 to 1986.
Really?
Wow.
That's what it said.
Well.
The internet is never wrong.
Wow. You know what though? That's she did the role. I wonder what the audition was like though.
It's probably like, hey, I'm making a movie. You want to be in my movie? Yeah.
Does it pay? Okay.
Well, yeah. Knowing Clint's reputation for being a bit of a tightwad sometimes, he probably said, I'll get you a role in the movie, but I'm taking you per diems.
Yeah. Well, actually, he might have been pulling like an Adam Sandler thing where, they filmed in Puerto Rico. So it's like, you do this role and it's a free vacation to Puerto Rico with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of it was also filmed in San Diego, wasn't it? Some of these scenes, some of the beach scenes?
I'm sure some of them may, but Camp Pendleton's just north of San Diego, so it's possible, but I imagine most of the combat beach scenes, they're absolutely going to be in Puerto Rico because there's not that many trees in Southern California.
Right. And there's some eucalyptus trees in the background, though. Wouldn't that seem to suggest SoCal? I don't know.
I think I saw something about that, but unfortunately, I didn't actually double check that beforehand. But I think you might be right. I think they did do some scenes there. I know they did. I forget exactly where in Puerto Rico they filmed this too. I know Pete mentioned it actually on the podcast one time, and I know I've looked up in the past. But
there's a bit of irony. There's a bit of irony that it was filmed. Like, I've never understood as a foreigner, Puerto Rico is sort of a protectorate of the US, or it's...
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to offend you and say it's a colony, but it's some quasi-legal definition.
What's a territory? I guess it's technically a territory.
Yeah, it's a territory.
Right. Is that just a polite way of saying Colton?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, back in the day, it probably would have been called that, but it's the same way Grenada. Well, that's funny. You mentioned that.
Mentioned it.
Grenada was a colony of Great Britain until like 1974.
74, yeah.
Yeah, and so until they basically became their own independence, but they still technically fall under the UK or the Queen's
British rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're still part of the Commonwealth. My dad actually is. I told him I was recording this podcast today, and he loves Heartbreak Ridge. But as a proud Englishman, he's saying maybe America just invaded so they could change the cricket team into a baseball team for the World Series. But he's always sticking it into America.
Yeah, right.
Not me, however. I love America.
We appreciate that. It is true that a lot of these, like Puerto Rico, and I'm trying to think like the Dominican, they get a lot of baseball players from there. So your dad's probably not wrong.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I personally feel like it was one more, even though Britain and America are allies and have been for quite some time. And even though Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan seem to be on the same page most times, I still think it was one little more dig to just be like, hey, England, you don't rule us anymore. We're going to go into Grenada, even though you don't want us to.
Yeah.
This is our backyard. You're over there.
Yeah.
We didn't give you crap for the whole Falklands debacle, that happened, a few years earlier. So fuck off.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, apparently there was some, what am I trying to say, conflict between Thatcher and Reagan, as far as, hey, England didn't want us intervening, but they were like, nope, we're doing what we want. I do what I want.
You ain't the boss of me.
So right after Stitch walks away, Swede, our buddy Swede,
Mm-hmm.
busted in with an M60.
Like a Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, I think Lieutenant Ring's with him on that side too.
Yeah.
I think, and then it's Profile, and I think it's Quiones and Collins come in this other door, and they say U.S. Marines, and all the students are there, and they just cheer. And if you notice, right when after everybody cheers and they start hugging, this woman walks right up to Profile and gives him a big kiss and then a hug.
Some of them are teachers.
They must be, yeah.
Some of them are teachers, yeah.
Yeah, because there's I think there's a guy on the 5-ton. I guess it's a 5-ton. I'm calling it a 5-ton.
Yeah, it's a 5-ton.
That he looks a little too, right. He looks a little too old to be a student. They celebrate whatever. I got a little background on this whole rescuing of students, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I think I mentioned this before. This is Operation Urgent Fury. It was the name of the U.S.-led coalition. One of the main objectives, there was others, but one of the main objectives and one of the main justifications for going in was to secure 233 U.S. students. At least this is these numbers kind of fluctuate because I've seen a couple different numbers of students float around. But they said 233 U.S. students were in Grenada at the time. And they didn't, Reagan didn't want to have another Iran hostage situation. So it's like, we got to get them out.
Right.
And apparently, I think most of them weren't in super danger. They just couldn't leave. Like, they shut the airport down. There was no, all the ports were shut down. They didn't want it to turn into something worse. So these students were going to St. George's University in Grenada, the West Indies. And I was kind of looking it up today, and it's the main campus was called True Blue Campus. But the school was founded as an independent medical school of.
Yeah, I think it was founded only a few years before by the government. It was a state-owned, operated school.
Yeah, that's correct. It was 1976, actually. Yeah, so it wasn't what? That was like 9 years or 7
It's surprising.
Years. Yeah.
It's surprising after the first coup was in 1979, where a socialist government sort of took over, bloodless coup. It's surprising that back then they didn't force evacuate, or the American government didn't want the students to return back home. Don't you think? Oh, maybe it was the Carter years, and they just let the students stay on without warning. You stay at your own risk. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
That's a good point because it was Bishop that took over, and he suspended elections and all that good stuff. But I guess there was a couple things I saw. Apparently, he suspended elections, but he was still working within the constitution that the greater Caribbean coalition that was down there kind of agreed to when they all became independent. They kind of like had a cooperative agreement. And because I remember seeing something about this. So he was sort of still kind of working within, even though he was being more of a dictator. And of course, he was cozying up to the Cubans. And then, of course, what happens here in '83 is the people that try to take Bishop out were cozying up to the Soviets a little bit more.
Yeah,
I saw a press conference with the head of the Caribbean coalition and Reagan. I was watching this old news footage about the invasion, and they were discussing how Bishop in the last few years was starting to be. He was open to having elections again. He was reaching out to the U.S. to try to be a little bit less militant, more, kind of maybe a little more open. That could be why it wasn't like that important to say you can't go there. It's also possible that it was such a. It was all right. Well, this dovetails into something else that I found. I think I mentioned it before. Actually, they had no intel on Grenada because of the U.S. barracks bombing in Lebanon. Everybody expected they were going there, and like a week later, they're in Grenada. So at Fort Bragg, they didn't have any maps of Grenada. They had to go out into Fayetteville and get some tourist maps and then make their own maps.
Yeah.
And then the only intel they had were like articles from The Economist. So I mean, it probably was a blip on their radar of the U.S. government at the time. It was not anything they were probably concerned about. But then once you start getting the Cubans showing up, building airports, now there's even another coup going on that's even more extreme of communist. That Reagan's like, all right, we just had a bad thing going on. I'm not going to stand for commies, taking over my backyard. We're going to send some guys in. So, of course, yeah, the same thing with not wanting another Iran hostage situation and then looking weak the same way Carter did. So, yeah, it's funny that they maybe didn't prevent them from going. But for all we know, I didn't, look it up. But it's possible they put like one of those State Department warnings. Hey, travel at your own risk.
Yeah.
So this university, I just found it today.
True Blue.
A True Blue campus is what it was, and it said the university has had 22,000 graduates, including physicians, veterinarians, scientists, public health, and business professionals across the world. It draws students and faculty from 140 countries to the island of Grenada, and it's involved into a top international education area. In 2020, it has 1,124 U.S. and Canadian residencies and counting. So that was at the time of publishing that there was at least 1,100 U.S. and Canadian citizens there, basically working. Interesting. And it's proud to be the #1 provider of doctors into their first year U.S. residency for the last 11 years. So I think a lot of times people go there because it's cheap. They go to medical school for a lot cheaper.
Oh, I can see that. But if you get in there and you're getting, the doc's like, yeah, we're going to do this open heart surgery, and you see, graduated from the blah, 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 blah School of Medicine in Grenada, I'd be like,
Well, there was like a show on ABC that lasted like a year, and it was basically about this. I forget the name of it. But it was like, hey, we're young and we're hot and we're going down to the Caribbean to learn science and medicine.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so all right, so about the rescue of the U.S., I found some interesting stuff about it, right, of the U.S. Students. So
Well, they missed some of them, didn't they?
Yes,
they were
they
spread
did.
over a few campuses. Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah.
Clusterfuck. Yeah.
Exactly. This invasion was a clusterfuck as far as they had no intel. They really just didn't.
To be fair, it was arranged pretty quickly, I suppose. Within just 6 days or whatever of the takeover by the.
Oh yeah, they
coup leader,
moved
the
pretty
communist,
quick.
yeah.
Also, Marines really aren't investigators. They just they're lucky they didn't blow the fucking place up before they got there.
Apparently, the Marines came to step up for the Rangers, who the helicopters had been downed or something, and the Marines had to help the Rangers get to the second campus to rescue the second lot of something like that.
Yeah, in real life, and I have a buddy that was attached to a Ranger unit and was Special Forces. He was over in Iraq and all that.
Of course, he was special. He was a Ranger. Sorry.
He teases me all the time that this movie is a bunch of stolen valor because a lot of what you see in Grenada go on, Rangers did, or airborne. So yeah, so the Rangers they had two main objectives. One was to secure the airport in Point Salinas, and then the other was to go on to True Blue campus of the medical school, because the Marines were landing north and securing something called Pearl's Airfield. So the Marines were there; they were just doing something else. But basically, two Ranger companies went off into the True Blue campus, and they were encountering heavy hilltop fire around the runway when they were heading out that way, and that's where some of the Marine attack helicopters came in. Now, this is something that I thought was funny about the maps. Apparently, they did silence the enemy positions, but it was a frustrating process, is what I read, is because the Rangers and the Marine aviators were using two different maps, and they were also on different radio frequencies. So
also not surprising.
Yeah, so they just couldn't communicate. They said at one point one of the Rangers went out there and was using a mirror to designate targets. They were like reflecting the sun. Saying, "Oh my God, it's amazing anything gets done." But that's that improvise and have to overcome thing right there, you know? So they said the Rangers approached True Blue around 9 a.m. Most of the students were hiding in their rooms, but they did say one student was actually showering. I'm just making that part up.
You pulled my chain.
That was a what was I gonna say? That was a creative license from the movie.
Oh, Brian. Also, just a Wikipedia search said that one of the only reliable bits of information of a reportage coming out of Grenada prior to the invasion was a ham radio that an anesthetist student had or something that was providing information to the Department of State secretly. So, yeah.
Oh my God. That doesn't surprise me. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think I didn't come across that. That's awesome. That's good. So let's see. They said but there was a firefight between the PRA guards and the Rangers for about 15 minutes prior to the students hearing American voices, and they didn't hear U.S. Marines.
Yeah, let it sound heroic, their profile.
Right? Hey, he tried, you know.
Yeah.
But they said this is to what John was saying. They they only found half the numbers of the students that they expected, and they found out that there was for the first time. This is the first time they were learning that 200 students occupied a second campus at Grande Anse, a few miles to the north, and they had no plans to evacuate them. And of course, they said a telephone call confirmed it was surrounded, so they had to fight their way there. Yeah. So, they said basically once they secured the governor, that was one of the other missions they had. Then they were able to go and get those students. So as they were advancing, to get those students, it wasn't going well. But there was an army guy there who had no command authority, but he went ahead and suggested and advised. And I'll say you might recognize his name. His name was Norman Schwarzkopf.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he recommended
From
that.
Desert Storm, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The very one. He said the 6 Marine CH-46C Knights to drop off the Rangers. Basically they were, between the helicopters and the Rangers, they were able to go ahead and secure, rescue the students elsewhere. Now there was one of the helicopters did go down, and the Rangers actually had to retrieve a rubber raft from the helicopter and paddle their way out to a waiting destroyer. So there's really nothing to do with the rescue of the students aside from it's just amazing what they, how things happened and what they had to do.
Row, you shut up, Carl.
But after they did that, they found out that there was yet another bunch of students in nearby Prickly Bay. So they had to do a third rescue mission. So it's all over the place. Students. Right. But as we learn in college, behind is a terrible thing to waste. So we have to take them, So okay, so
what is that? I legitimately don't understand. It's got the ring of a joke to it, but do you guys use the word behind in America for bum, for ass?
Sometimes. Behind? But it's a play on an old United Negro College Fund commercial from when it may have been even older than the 80s, but there used to be a commercial all the time, and that was the tagline: "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." And it was like, I specifically remember this commercial. It was a young black kid, and he was like saving his pennies, and he went up into the closet or whatever, and it was like he was saving college money, and it was like, "Please give to the United Negro College Fund because a mind is a terrible thing to waste."
Okay, that's lost to me as a foreigner. Completely lost. I know behind's an ass, but I don't know what that's got to do with university.
Yeah, so that's and Stitch Jones, he's saying a behind is a terrible a mind. It's so your instincts were correct. It's just lost on you.
Context is everything.
I mean, that is a nice behind in those nice tight 80s pants.
Yeah. The big ass pat.
Or nowadays would be called mom jeans, but
yeah, wearing them around their throat.
Yeah, they're pretty high. They're definitely some 80s jeans right there, but it's pretty funny. They load the students up in a 5-ton, and this is where we get a nice little can't remember what I said Rodney Hill, but I was going to say Collins. He mentions either was it Delta Company, or he specifically mentions one of the guys in one of the other companies is going to get some surfboards and they're going to go down to the beach and start surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they're going to be doing that in the middle of a war zone, but okay.
Charlie don't surf.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There was one review in the Washington Post I researched. It said, quote, "Most of the time you wonder why they aren't issued beach towels with their bayonets." I've been deliberately riffing on this line, yeah. They were complaining there's no sense of stakes in this part of the movie. Like there's no real dramatic pressure. And
Yeah, I
that was
guess.
one of the
But,
reviewers.
I mean, before this, there is a little bit of a firefight, and it's their first baptism by fire. I think Aponte. I don't know if Aponte actually does the killing. I can't remember, but he definitely does the sign of the cross, and is like because there's somebody dead at their hands. So there was a little bit of a firefight.
Yeah. So that was a really good example of Gunny Highway in this movie really caring for his troops. Like, I was thinking back to the earlier minute when he says I'm scared of, parachuting to
Yeah.
the Swede. And I thought maybe
Yeah.
he's even lying. Maybe he's just lying to Swede just to make him feel better. He's really developed as you say, the esprit de corps for his
Esprit de
the
corps,
people
yeah.
who start. And he almost cuts himself when Aponte says, I apologize to Jesus, Senor. He's about to cut him out and say, "Don't be stupid," but he catches himself and he just lets Aponte sort of pray for his killing. Yeah, some nice touches.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I mean, I've never been in combat like this, so I can't say. But one of the things in boot camp, I'll just go back to that. You usually got 4. We had 5 at one point DIs, and the 3 junior or lower ranking, not ranking, but like in this hierarchy of DIs are just they're just the worst. They treat you like shit. They're terrible. But your senior is supposed to be kind of like the father figure. He's supposed to be like the one that, like, he's tough but fair. And I feel like that's very much Gunny. Like he's hard on these guys. He's trying to train them up right, but he's looking out for them. He's trying to. I mean, you find out he's a nice guy, basically.
Yeah, he cares about his Marines.
Yeah, he legitimately cares. So that's interesting.
Did you see earlier on when they're in the Huey, or one of the helicopters on the way to the island? One of them's doing the other's makeup, the camouflage. You see that nice little touch?
Yeah. And when we talked to Pete Koch, he mentioned that they weren't given any sort of like they just put the makeup on them, or the makeup, the camo on themselves. They all tried to make it a little unique, but yeah, I like that a little bit. I think it was Profile and sorry, it was Profile and Collins, I think, that were doing that together. They were just kind of putting on the grease paint, basically.
Yeah. Get painted up for war.
I wonder if they would have treated each other so courteously with patience before Gunny was in charge of them. I don't know. He inculcated their kindness.
I think they probably would have been shitting their pants before Gunny was in charge of them if they were getting ready to go to war.
Oh, is that true? Is that true? When you go into combat, I think the SAS in Australia, bronzing up is the term, where if you're out of camouflage, you can use your excrement to camouflage yourself. It's called bronzing up.
Well, I imagine they probably I mean, I'm sure you could. I don't. That. Well.
Sorry. Maybe it's just Aussie.
Oh no, you're not grossing this out. I just can only imagine those fuckers are savages, man.
Bronzing
mud too.
Yeah, military guys, I don't put anything past it.
No, someone says it's there.
Bronzing up.
Yeah. That's like some shit they tell a boot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sounds like something. It's like, hey, just rub some shit on your face.
Yeah.
I think I know the name of our episode.
Yeah.
Bronzing up.
Oh,
I mean, I like to take I would like to take the approach more of Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Predator and just put a bunch of mud all over.
Yeah. Everybody in the unit's got pink eye when they get back.
Right. I'm right here. Come on, do it. Shit on me.
You gotta pay extra for that.
Scheisse.
Uh,
All right, so we get a call back to the Profile getting kissed that we mentioned earlier. Profile is all proud, and he said, "Oh, one of the students kissed me 4 times. I think I'm in love." And just as he says that, Gunny walks up. Was he good looking, Profile? It was a girl, Gunny.
You know what that means, guys? You know what that means? Profile was kissed, so according to the the horror movie rule, he's got to die later on. He's been kissed, he's lost his virginity, he's going to die
Yeah.
soon, perhaps. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
who
I'm
knows?
sure that kiss was was outside of wedlock. So yeah.
You sinner. God gonna get you.
Is Profile modeled on Gomer Pyle a little bit? Tell me about that. Is that what's his
I
role
don't know
in
if
this
he's
movie?
specifically Gomer Pyle, but yeah, I mean he's basically the goofball,
Yeah.
and
Close enough.
yeah, there's all types that you serve with in the military, and to this day, I have a guy from boot camp that I'm friends with a guy from boot camp still, and he to this day he will bring up this one particular goofball. And he's like, that guy was the dumbest guy we've ever met in our life. It's like, so Profile's the dumb guy. He's the dumb, goofy guy.
He plays it really well, like that line out of like vaudeville or something. It was a girl, Gunny. It just seems it's really good, but
that whole little exchange between them is outstanding. It's set up perfectly. That's why I say like Clint Eastwood was really good at comedy when he's playing a straight man because he's like he just walks up and that is 100% what another guy would say to another guy, when in that situation, like, oh, was he good looking? Yeah. You could point out the obvious, I mean, where the joke has a meta aspect to it because
The
Tom
irony.
Vallarta, Tom Vallarta in real life was a homosexual.
Ah.
Yeah, so unfortunately he's passed on at this time, but I don't know if he was out at the time of this filming, but he did come out eventually.
I really like his performance across the film. I really enjoy seeing him. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, he's good in this movie because I even like the part like, oh, fuck you, I'm getting pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a little character arc for him because earlier he wasn't swearing. He's like, recon kicks butt. And then, and like where all the recon Marines have like boobs and ass posters, he's got a kitten and a puppy, like, like he's the innocent, soft spoken guy. Now he's swearing. He's becoming a decent Marine. He's kissing women. He's romance. He's James Bond,
Yeah. Action hero extraordinaire.
But I never noticed before until I'm watching it now when he's talking to Collins in front of the 5-ton when this little joke happens. He's got the radio, which that comes into play later. But I guess I never realized that Profile was humping around with that radio the whole time.
The battery powered Marine.
Have I ever told my Pricky 6 story on this podcast?
I've not heard it so far.
Okay, so I probably haven't. All right, so let me tell you real quick. So when I first got to Cherry Point, I'll try to make it quick. When I went to Cherry Point, I was still pretty boot, Lance Corporal, just there for a little bit. All of a sudden, we're having a commanding general's inspection. So one of the things that we had to do is we had to go through my duty for this inspection was to get all of our records in order. So if any piece of equipment that we owned needed to have a publication with records, like a user manual, a maintenance manual, all that good stuff. So I had to inventory what we had. I had to make sure that if we didn't have an up-to-date manual for it, I then had to show that it was on order. So I had to order it. So, or, whatever. So I did that. If there was a manual we didn't have the equipment for, I had to update the fact that the equipment is gone and get rid of the manual because we don't want to hold stuff we don't need. So I found some manuals for a Prick, what is it? A Prick 111? The telephone, basically the telephone that, it's an acronym,
PRK or
I thought it was PRC, but I can't remember. I'm not going to look it up right now, but it was like PRC, like dash. I think it was like 111, whatever. Everybody get in the quarterdeck, tell us we're wrong. So I remember going up to one of the sergeants and I said, hey, do we have this Prick, whatever? Because I knew it was a Prick or whatever. So I said, do we have a Prick, whatever? No. But we do have a pricky 6. You ever see a pricky 6? No, I don't know what a pricky 6 is. Why don't you go tell Staff Sergeant Thompson? Ask him if he's ever seen a pricky 6.
And I know Staff
Pricky
Sergeant Thompson.
Yeah. So I go, hey, Staff Sergeant, do we have a pricky 6? What you say? Pricky 6. Do we have one? Have you ever seen one? What's a pricky 6? Motherfucker, say pricky 6 one more time. What do you mean? Pricky 6. I just want to know if we have one or not. Motherfucker, you said it again. Stop saying pricky 6. I mean, I'm so fucking thick that I can't figure out what's going on here. And now I'm starting to realize though that people are laughing, and I'm like, and he's yelling at me like pricky 6. One more time, motherfucker. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me. He goes, "What's my rank?" And I go, "Staff Sergeant." He goes, "And that is an E6." So you're the pricky. Why you motherfucker? But of course, he was just, it was all a setup, and they were just fucking with me, and they had a good laugh at it. But my dumb ass just kept digging my ditch, about a pricky 6.
Who sent you on that little errand?
I don't remember. One of the old school guys. I don't remember.
That's funny.
Oh, do you guys use the word headshed for
Yes.
for your yeah?
Yeah, in fact, we for a while worked in the Headshed, if you will.
Ah. In American Sniper, I mean, Bradley Cooper talks about that a few times. I'm like, Headshed.
Yeah, that's the headquarters building. It's where all the in charges work out of in the building. So yeah, it just Marines have little terms that just kind of roll off the tongue.
Yeah, because technically it was the general's building or the commanding general's building.
Yeah.
But we
All
called
the
it.
cool people called it the Headshed.
Yeah, exactly.
I love all these words: headshed, E6, the head for the toilet,
Yeah.
liberty, leave. What a world!
I'm holding an ink stick in my hand right now instead of a pen. I'm wearing Go Fasters, so instead of sneakers. It's just, some of these names are stupid.
Yeah, some of them are, but some of them are kind of pretty good.
I think we've talked about this before. Moonbeam.
Yep, flashlight.
Yeah, it's a flashlight. Moonbeam seems harder to say than flashlight, but because it's a moonbeam.
Yeah. Would higher up ranks still use these words? Like Major Powers, would these words be beneath him and he'd say them correctly, or just for lower ranks?
No, not all. Like normal naval terms like deck, head, stuff like that. They would probably use because
definitely use it. Yeah, no, they would definitely use that.
But like some of the more there's some terms that you get, they teach you like moonbeam, like you get it like in boot camp or Marine combat training. That's the only time that they use them, but they try to phase you out of using some of those terms in MCT, Marine combat training, or I'm not sure about SOI, School of Infantry. But they try to phase you out of using some of those words because they're just not used in the fleet, and they just kind of more or less make you look like an asshole.
Yeah, like we had glasses, and they call them
portholes.
But yeah. I swear, but once you're in the fleet, they weren't the beat me fuck me kind that we call them, but they were more like aviators. So a lot of times they wouldn't call them glasses; they would say, "Where's your aviators?" Even though they weren't referring to sunglasses, they were referring to your glasses. But sometimes, just depending also who you were talking about, would just say, "Where's your glasses?" But
I don't think Major Powers would tolerate these colloquialisms.
Yeah,
anything.
No, he was not one of the cool ones. He wouldn't use Headshed.
He would say whatever is in the Marine Corps manual.
Yeah,
because as we know, he consults that thing before he mounts his own lady just to make sure he moves in a proficient military manner.
Yeah.
Do you guys think?
Go ahead.
Do you think Major Powers, like the actor who plays him, is he famous? He looks like a bony faced Johnny Depp or something.
He's been
is he supposed to have a southern accent too? Jack, does he have a southern accent?
I don't think he is. I forget. Everett McGill. I forget where he's from.
Yeah, but he was in Dune, like the original 1980. Was it 3 Dune?
Yeah, he was. He's more like a character actor, but he's been in a few things. He's been in a lot of those. David Lynch, because he was in David Lynch movies because he was also in Twin Peaks. He was a recurring character on there.
Never saw that show. I heard it is incredibly weird.
He got his start as like not a Broadway singer, but like a stage play guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know we talked about it in the past, but yeah, he was pretty prominent on stage, I think, before he ever was on screen. And he's done a bunch of things, but let's see. I'm trying to find him real quick. Everett McGill. I'll tell you real quick where he's from.
And by all
I
accounts,
thought
he's
he had
supposed
a
to be
I
cool.
thought he had a slight southern lint,
Yeah.
Gunny
Oh,
Highway.
Yeah.
He's from Miami Beach, Florida. He
Yeah,
definitely has that.
yeah, he's south.
Go to a Sergeant Highway.
Yeah.
You're out of line. yeah. He's
Like
definitely got a
Yosemite
plan.
Sam.
I don't even know what
He's
kind
taking pictures. He's taking pictures here. Do you think that's in line with his character? Isn't that more of a Lieutenant Ring type of thing to do?
I don't know.
of ring. I could see doing that for as far as the
The scrapbook.
well, I was gonna say because he's all about the intel. Like when he snapped to attention, he's like Grenada. It's 86 nautical miles off the coast. Like
Yeah.
he's all about the report and the
Yeah.
knowledge and all that. Power seems like he wants it for a scrapbook. I feel like he's the
Yeah.
one that's like, oh, I was in combat. Here's my
I love
picture.
me wall.
Yeah, this is like, look how badass I am. I'm taking pictures of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly in line with him because if you notice, Gunny's talking about coming across some resistance, and he's like, it's probably just local fanatics. And he's
Yeah,
like,
he blows
negative.
it off.
Yeah, he blows it off. He's like, negative.
Listen
These
to
were
your
Cuban
experienced combat vet.
Yeah, he's not paying attention. He didn't have anything to do with the rescue of the students. He's just there, kind of observing,
Yeah.
and he's blowing off the guy that is giving him a report, reconnaissance from recon platoon.
Yeah. Whose job is to go find things out and tell him, hey, we found bad guys. We know kind of where they're at. Or
Yeah. So, anything else about this particular minute that either one of you want to cover? Because I'm tapped out.
I just wanted to mention a bit at the start with Stitch.
Sure.
I noticed there's a piece of paper in the hallway with an F on the wall. So I thought these medical students aren't worth saving. Number two, if that's what it is, an exam paper or something.
Yeah. Maybe that was her F.
yeah.
Also, another question was for you guys. Stitch has his wristwatch. Is it advisable to take something like that into combat? I know timing's important for things, but maybe it could be a liability in combat. You're caught or torn or something.
There's only specific watches you're allowed to wear, or at least we were allowed to wear in uniform. The G-Shock is one of them, like a sports watch.
Right.
I would think you want something because you want something that's not going to reflect.
Yeah.
Or make noise. You're not going to wear like a nice fancy, Rolex or anything like that. But I mean, I would have to imagine guys still wear it in combat. I don't think that was necessarily a goof, but I would think, like Perry said, it would have to be a certain kind, is my guess.
Yeah, they don't want you wearing like bright, flashy watches. One, because they're likely to get the shit cracked out of them, so they don't want to hear about, you broke your watch. But yeah, the rubberized, non-metal bands, I think, is typical.
Yeah. Well, hell, just as you guys are talking about that, Major Powers has his class ring still on his finger.
I saw that. Yeah.
Now I would say that's totally ill-advisable.
Yeah. Yeah, but he wants everybody to know he was a graduate of Annapolis, 77.
Big time football hero.
He was a big time football hero.
The last thing I just was a bit of a criticism from my other colleagues over here at Dirty Harry Minute.
Uh-huh.
They're saying, I don't know, there was a bit of a B-grade haunted house feel to how Stitch enters the frame.
Yeah.
They were just giving a little shade to it, saying it's not really, and the music's so B-grade in the background, it's a bit cheap. That was their comment.
Some Scooby-Doo, like squeaky shoes.
Exactly.
It's to set up the surprise, though, of boobs, I think.
Yeah.
Because the minute before, or just before that, you have the tense scene of them clearing the rooms. You see them going into each little, whatever they call them, rooms. and then you see
Cluster.
Forgetti. Forgetti's all tense. The thing pops up. He shoots the skeleton up. Then Gunny scares him again.
Yeah.
Almost shoots Gunny. So that's all tense. That's all. He's all hopped up. He's sweating. He's all scared. Jesus Christ, Gunny! He almost So now we're getting the same thing.
Even improved.
With Stitch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Improved.
And so now you get the whole thing with Stitch, kind of replaying that. Like, all right, what's Stitch going to come across? Maybe now you're to think you're not going to get a fake out. You're going to get a real Cuban army guy that he's going to have to get in a firefight while he's clearing his room. And instead, you get gratuitous nudity.
Yeah. You know what also got me too is that those Marines kicked those doors in. There's open windows right there. They could have just peeked in.
Oh, you know what? I actually, I'm glad you said that. I forgot. Yeah, that one teacher's just standing right in front of the window with his back to it. What if they cleared it the way they kind of taught us in MCT in Combat Town, where you kick the door in, they're throwing flashbangs in there, and they're coming in, bang 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 bang. It just took out. All right, good stuff. What do you guys say we wrap up this minute then and move on to the next one?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
All right, John, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you before we do that, though?
Everyone, I'm one part of Dirty Harry Minute. If you go to dirtyharryminute.com, we've wrapped up the series, but we will do some few bonus episodes in the near future. So yeah, just Google Dirty Harry Minute, and even before that, just check out the original Dirty Harry. It's such a good movie.
Oh yeah,
maybe even better than Heartbreak Ridge. Oh yeah, maybe, possibly.
No, it's a great movie. Hey, they're both equally awesome. All right, well, John, thanks for joining us, and hopefully you can stick around for Wednesday. Come back on Wednesday and do another minute with us.
Yes, please.
But one last observation, guys, I just noticed, and I just wanted to yell this at Powers when I saw him as he's taking pictures in this parking lot. Powers, what's with the picture? It's a parking lot.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we're breaking down minutes of the
We're making it down to minutes.
Say what?
I'm Jack.
I'm Billy.
And with us today we got a special
John.
guest. Well, fuck.
You stepped all over it, man.
I know.
Say what?
What, Perry? What?
Bye everybody.
Do you even know what that is from?
No.
It's from Caddyshack. Wang, what's with the pictures? It's a parking lot.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's all I can think of.
The second one? The second one.
It's the first one. When Rodney Dangerfield first shows up to Bushwood, he's got an Asian guest of him, and he's taking all the pictures. And he goes, "Hey, this is my." He goes, "Hey, Wang, this club's restricted, so don't tell him you're Jewish." And then he goes, but then he's taking pictures. He goes, "What's with the picture? It's just a parking lot." That's Major Powers in there in the parking lot of the school. All right, they're not all winners. All right,
fucking Billy, fucking Gunga Unga Unga. I got him telling bad jokes. I got that going for me.
Right, which is nice.